We're back in studio here at CJ 8800 with the leader of the Bloc Québécois, Yves-François Blanchet, who's returning to studio. So happy to see you here once again.
So now it's a monthly thing.
If you're game, I'm game. And like I said the last time you were on, I think, if there's a million English speakers in Quebec, an opportunity to speak to them, it can only lead to more votes. I'm just saying, right?
The responsibility is not only about getting votes, it's about getting understood.
Exactly.
And understanding better.
Yeah.
Without the environment of a parliament where it's mainly about conflicts and winning the day.
Of course. Now, the last time you were on, it was kind of sort of like a meet and greet. Like, let's introduce each other, let's talk. This time around, we've got some topics and some heavy topics to get to this morning.
I expected that.
So let's talk about this, right? Because you're calling for the end to religious exemptions for hate speech in Canada. So right now, you can't be found guilty if, in quote unquote, in good faith, you expressed an opinion that comes from a religious text. I didn't even know that exemption was in the books. And boy, it just seems like the largest loophole in the world. You could probably find anything in a religious text to justify what you're saying. So tell us about this. You're going to present this next Tuesday, right?
It was presented last Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
The Prime Minister said he would look into it with some interest. But this is something he says sometimes when he wants to push something forward in time and not necessarily come back with it, but he has to know that we can force the treatment by the Parliament of such a bill in a few weeks from now. So if he doesn't want to look bad, he should seriously look into it because each day that passes, there might be an Adil Sharkawi out there asking people or God to kill Jews. And it is, my God, it is so unimaginable that such a thing is allowed. Already, the social media is a terrible place to be because people can do and say anything, anyway, anyhow. And it's so gross as a place to go. Us politicians, we don't have a choice. But given a choice, I would not use these things. So this cannot be allowed. And it was part of the Code criminel.
Yeah, the criminal code.
Criminal code for a few years. And it was created, at first it was created to allow some quite extreme biblical groups to go against sexual minorities at first. But then this loophole was used. Let's say it frankly. Almost every Muslim person in Montreal and in Quebec wants to live peacefully. But a few of them are radicalized, and a few of them are interested in acting according to an radical Islamic view of religion. Sharkawi is one of them, and I haven't heard one Jew asking to kill Muslims, but Netanyahu. But I haven't seen one.
The point taken on the public
Sharkawi expecting Allah to kill Jews, and it makes me.
Well, so this is what it comes down. This goes back to that moment, that weekend. Place des Arts, Adil Sharkawi, with those hateful words. He uses the word Zionist, which is code for Jews. We all know it, but I guess that's another way to try and get around the criminal code. Now, you brought up this is going to be something that the Prime Minister and the Liberals are going to have to deal with. But do you think you'll get support? It's very touchy in religion. The rest of Canada, they don't want to be perceived very often as doing anything.
Let's be more blunt than that. They all want the votes of the Muslim communities around the large Toronto area. And I believe they are mistaken. I do not believe that Muslim communities are more hateful than any other. A few guys out there, but it's not a way to get votes. But no one is really willing to go against what he fears they might think.
And it treats it treats the community as a monolith. that everyone thinks, and it's not the
terrible.
case.
That's terrible. And we have received support for this initiative, this idea, from all over Canada. From all over Canada. People saying, why is it that it is the independentists that say the right thing?
And so why is it? Why do you have maybe a little bit more freedom to be open and honest on this subject than the other parties?
There is no radical religious minority that supports the Bloc Québécois. The Bloc Québécois is the pure creature of the Révolution tranquille, which was a secular revolution, peaceful revolution, secular revolution. We said that we wanted the Catholic priests to be out of our schools and, by the way, out of our bedrooms also. And this has defined the relationship between French Quebecers, I will call us that way today, and religion. Everybody is entitled to his or faith, but this should have nothing to do with the states, with the state, with the law, with the way we handle violence and hate.
We're with Yves-François Blanchet, leader of the Bloc Québécois. And, I know what we've just been talking about is going to get some of our listeners on board with you. They're liking what they're hearing on this issue. I do want to get to one other subject this morning with you, because I remember the last time you were on, you said, we talked about what makes a Quebecer, who's a Quebecer, right? Our broad discussion, right? And you said, anyone who lives in Quebec, that's a Quebecer, right? And I think that's another thing that our listeners like to hear that. But I just want to go back earlier this week to something from Mario Beaulieu, who's one of your colleagues at the Bloc Québécois. He came out swinging against the federal government spending money. I think it's $2.1 billion over the last 10 years. And he said it's spending money on Anglophones in Quebec. And I was a bit taken aback by that, because I felt it was like just kind of the dirty politics kind of thing, because I'm like, wait a minute. Quebecers, there are Anglophones who live in Quebec. They've been here for a long time. We're part of Quebec. And to me, it's a no-brainer that some of our institutions would be supported. So I was a little...
This is not what it is all about.
Yeah.
It is not about supporting institutions. It's about supporting a language which is in a weak spot, a language which is threatened not to disappear tomorrow morning. That wouldn't be true, but is losing ground.
Yeah.
English in Quebec is not losing ground. French in Canada, outside of Quebec, clearly is losing ground. And when Trudeau said that the leader of the Bloc Québécois does not care about the English people and does not care about the French Canadians outside of Quebec, the day before, I was having lunch with the president of the outside Quebec Francophones organization, and we collaborate with them always. They do need help, and my point is that I have nothing against English institutions in Montreal. I find it very interesting. They are thriving, and that's wonderful. But they do not need to protect the language which is not threatened. If that's the purpose of those $2 billion, this should be given to the Francophones outside of Quebec, because we don't ask this for the Francophones of Quebec. We can handle that ourselves.
But here's where I'm coming from, right? Like, I'm on the board of directors of Repercussion Theater, right? It's an English theater group. They do Shakespeare in the Park. Every summer, Shakespeare in the Park, right?
That's great.
And by the way, we have an app, and it translates it in real time to French. So if a Francophone shows up, they can even follow in French. But most people want to watch it in the original English, right? And the organization gets money through various federal funding mechanisms. And to me, it just seems like, well, that's exactly what government should be doing. And by the way, the Quebec government, through various funding mechanisms, gives money there. And I felt like that kind of talk, that rhetoric from M. Beaulieu was like, no, we shouldn't be giving any money to English institutions because that somehow is anglicizing Quebec.
I'm sorry, this is not what he said. Maybe that's something that you read, but probably not in French. Let's figure out. If there were only one government, this government would be responsible for funding cultures, arts, theater, music, as well English as French. And I would be the first to say I have nothing against that. Those $2 billion over that many years were given to organizations which defined themselves as defending English language, which is under no threat.
But was that used, like, was the whole thing used to try and get headlines in the French media to say, look, Ottawa is trying to boost Anglos in some really nefarious way, when it's not the case? It's more just like regular government funding for institutions.
Of course, I do not believe that this was the intention of Mario. However, I do understand that in the media apparatus, which is ours, it sounds like that. On a daily basis, and this is why I like being here. We should be able to have discussions between ourselves in a serene way without those titles in the media that feed on conflicts and fights and a show that will attract people. And if they attract people, they will sell advertising because they are trading information in exchange of money. This is what the media do.
Of course. But I'll take that.
And this is why journalists have to be free and independent to protect the quality of information.
And I get your point, but I'll take that system over what's replacing it, the social media algorithm right to the brain.
I entirely agree.
We got to leave it there. Thanks for coming in.
It's been a pleasure.
The first of more now if we're on a monthly plan.
Let's do that.
Yves-François Blanchet is leader of the Bloc Québécois.